Well, speaking of death, you know it is gonna die when it does release. The new live-action Cowboy Bebop film being picked up by
Oh,
Netflix.
it's a television series.
Ah, yes. It's not a film, my bad. It's a 10-episode TV series. Yeah, let's talk about...
I'm gonna be real with you. I've never watched Cowboy Bebop. I've
Woo!
watched like a couple episodes. Yeah, I know. I know. I've watched like two. I've watched the episode where they all get high and like
Mushroom
trip.
stuff.
Yeah, and then I've seen the episode where Faye goes home or something and like watches that clip of herself when she's little.
Oh, yeah, I like that episode a lot. She's like cheering
That's all
and
I've
she's got
seen.
the pom-pom. Yeah, now, yeah, this is a really big like topic and issue because for those who don't know, Cowboy Bebop is a very, I'm not gonna say traditional, but it's a very highly rated anime. Like, to give you guys a glimpse of like why it's so popular, it like when Cowboy Bebop came out, anime dubs got a lot of flack for just being very bad and cheesy. So when Bebop came out, it was like, whoa, this is a really good dub, and even most like sub watchers would be like, hey, yeah, I'd like Cowboy Bebop, like watching it dubbed. And ever since, you know, the release of that series, you know, that's when stuff like Orange High School Host Club, Full Metal Alchemist had came out with really good dubs at that time. And this was like 1998, so this is like before Fruit Basket, before Big O, before I think even DBZ at this point. And a lot of like, you know, a lot of like high, you know, production anime, you know, not anime, but animated, you know, series and dubs. You know, Cowboy Bebop was the first one to have a good dub. It was the first series to have like really good Sakuga moments and well-telling, you know, storytelling moments. So that's why it's like highly like rated and like known as the best anime of all time, because it does not age. It's still very well written to this day and has a really lot of good setting and like set pieces to the show itself. So when Netflix was like, hey, we want to do a 10 episode like series on it, it's like, oh no, here we go again. And Death Note was also another Netflix picked up series. Like, fuck. Like, so, you know, that being aside with the history and everything, this is why this is a bad idea for two reasons for me. For one, Cowboy Bebop takes place in every different part of space in every episode. Like, so if you ever watch any episode of Cowboy Bebop, it's taken like it takes place on the spaceship, but they go to each and every different galaxy every episode. Like the setting, like, all right, so the best way to put it, you know how like there's a home base or like you're at home, like most shows take place in one area. Cowboy Bebop takes place in multiple different planets. That's fucking that's almost too damn complicated to like based off of every different episode. Like, I can't even imagine how you would set up every episode from a different setting. And that's how Cowboy Bebop is so like well, not just written, but looked at, because every episode it's a different setting, it's a different planet, it's a different environment. For a live action series, because it's a live action series, bro, I don't expect I don't expect these episodes to have like a giant budget behind. I'm sure they're gonna do the bare minimum and just wing it throughout however episodes this continues, if this does get a second season. And that's one of my main complaints of it, is that like every episode of the anime is taking place from a different setting. Like Casey, you know, you'll have one where it's about mushrooms. You'll have one setting where you're on a planet where if you live there for too long enough, you'll die, and there's only like one cure, and I really like that episode. And you know, you'll have one about phase pass, you'll have one about catching a dog that's worth like thousands but they keep as a pet. You know, it changes every time. In every setting it's always something different. One setting, it's about some psychotic murderer that becomes like a cyborg, you know, like clown machine that has a fear of cats and ends up like going psycho. Like, it's always different, bro. You can't, like, I'm gonna say this right now, bro, if they fuck this up, and I know they will, because anime live actions, especially in America, do not have good track records. They will not. You cannot let this down. Like, this will be like one of those Dragon Ball Evolution things that always get brought up when it comes to adaptations. Like, and the reason why Dragon Ball Evolution is always brought up, because like you take a big property and you just completely ruin it all together. And Cowboy Bebop is one of those things where it's not shonen, but it's one of those well-written storytelling like animes where if you mess it up, you mess like it for entirety of like adaptations for the films, you know, for the history of the series, all that type of jazz. So that's step one, is like the setting of like however 10 episodes this goes on. The next one is the music. It's, bro, if I don't hear Real Folk Blues at the end of every episode, I'm gonna be pissed.
Or at least at the very series.
Right, because you can't, like, that's like the staple. Like, they even, like, they play that song at the, like, finale of Cowboy Bebop. Like, Real Folk Blues is one of the best, like, I think ending themes I've heard in anime. I know I'm writing this anime's dick, but like, it's so good, bro. Like, you can't get, it's jazzy and it's like heart pounding at the same time. Like, and that's why I was saying, like, if they mess this up, because I know they will, like, I do not have any positive hopes for this, like, 10 episode series, because not only is it a 10 episodes, but it's just like we all know how this goes. Like, when the Netflix Death Note movie got announced, everybody was like, oh, give it a chance. The trailer gave out, give it a chance. The anime drops, oh, this shit is trash, terrible, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you should have never set up your expectations that high or in a decent amount to begin with, because you set yourself up to be like, okay, now that it's out, now I can trash it. No, because my expectation is low when it does come out, and if it's trash, I've already knew that from the start. Like, I'm talking about it now, so that way I don't have to talk about it later on. Like, yeah, I kind of saw that coming. Like, so yeah, this is a very big deal, just because you're adapting one of the biggest franchise to something. You're adapting one of the biggest franchise that I think nobody really understands outside of the creator himself. Because Cowboy Bebop, because I can't even touch everything about Cowboy. There's so much good with it, with its setting, the music, characters, how they go about life. It's just, there's so much into the series that you can't not only talk about but adapt in only 10 episodes. Like, I find that wild to think that this is an American studio actors companies that are going for this big of a franchise or like series, and it's just, it's mind-blowing, because it's like, no way anybody could tackle this, let alone wanting to touch this for 20 years because of how popular it is and how much this means to people. But we'll see what happens when it releases. I don't have any high expectations for it. I just hope that, they keep the same, jazz flow music of it. I don't want to hear no fucking Little Pump in my Cowboy Bebop. So, I don't want to hear, like, Spike Spiegel, chasing cars and say, like, let's get it. Like, I don't want to hear this shit, bro. Like, I don't want to hear no Little Pump, no Little Yachty, no Little K. I don't want to hear any of that shit in this, like, fucking show. But yeah, like, I feel like with a lot of live action not live action studio, but I feel like with a lot of studios, like, they'd be like, okay, what's the most popular anime? We'll just take that and just run off its name alone. Like, that's a terrible way to go about it.
Right.
If that is the case, because boy, if it's gonna be like one of those things where it's gonna be like Dragon Ball Evolutions, well, you will not let this. They won't let them live this down. But speaking of Netflix, something that just got added today, a two-parter. Is this what you want?